Friday practice at the Brazilian Grand Prix got underway under clear skies, but with forecasts for potential rain come Sunday, round 2 of the 2021 season could be set for a very mixed affair. But at the track where Carlos Sainz secured his world championship last season, he and Audi looked strong as they set to make up for their poor, mistake-ridden showing in Bahrain. Ferrari and Jaguar looked fairly close once again, but a surprise spanner in the works seemed to be the Haas Chevrolets. The American outfit appeared to bring a raft of updates to their car in comparison to the rest of the top teams, and are making good on their promise to improve upon last season's development progress. Monster Mercedes might be riding a high from their victory in Bahrain, but it was clear coming to the dramatically different Sao Paulo circuit that they still had work to do to beat the others on pure pace. Meanwhile, Renault are confident their updates can help them on long runs in the race to bridge the gap to the midfield, but both Aitken and Bottas admitted their power units are lacking performance when it comes to turning up the wick to maximum during qualifying. And finally, BMW's technicians have told the press that they are already mapping out ways in which Williams can improve the performance of their Honda power unit, and are cautiously optimistic that come the British Grand Prix, they can make a positive step forward in performance. Let's take a look now at the starting grid for the 2021 Brazilian Grand Prix, and it is an all-Audi affair at the front, with Sainz pipping Verstappen by just 21 thousandths of a second to pole position as they lock out the front row for the first time this season. On the second row, it is Charles Leclerc in third, showing that he's feeling very comfortable in his Ferrari, while the Jaguar of Arab will line up alongside him and well ahead of his teammate. The top four separated by just 1/10 of a second. Then comes Nico Hülkenberg in the Haas Chevrolet, starting from within the top five and ahead of the Ferrari of Antonio Giovinazzi. Haas and Hülkenberg both very happy about that. Then comes Sebastian Vettel in the Mercedes, starting from the fourth row of the grid alongside the other Jaguar of Stoffel Vandoorne, who was admittedly disappointed with that starting position. Then comes the Bahrain Grand Prix winner Mick Schumacher in the Mercedes in ninth position alongside the lead McLaren driver of Daniel Ricciardo. Then comes Sophia Flores in the Monster Rehab, starting from just outside the top 10 once again in 11th position alongside the Haas Chevrolet of Pascal Wehrlein on the sixth row of the grid. Then comes the other Monster Rehab car of George Russell, starting just behind his teammate in 13th position. He'll be starting alongside the Red Bull of Pierre Gasly in 14th, who was just 9 thousandths of a second quicker than Nico Kari in the other Red Bull. Lando Norris 6/10 off of his teammate, will start from 16th position. Jack Aitken does manage to get the better of Valtteri Bottas once again in the battle between the Renaults for 17th and 18th position. And bringing up the rear, it is the Williams cars, with Ocon getting the better of Perez, but once again the Renaults and Williams cars all more than a second off the pace in qualifying.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Arava here, and welcome back to another episode of my F1 My Driver Career Mode. This is episode number 2 today for Season 7 at the Brazilian Grand Prix. Guys, you guys smashed the support on episode number 1 uploaded last week, and I can't thank you guys enough. So thank you so much for that. You guys killed it, and if you haven't seen that already, be sure to go check that one out before you see and continue on with the rest of this one. But this is how the Drivers' Championship now looks after that first opening round. Obviously a great win for the youngster Mick Schumacher in the Monster Mercedes car. We did pretty damn well in second place there, just ahead of Antonio Giovinazzi. The likes of the Ferraris, the Audis will be looking to bounce back after a difficult round 1, to say the least. And the same can be said of our teammate, unfortunately, Stoffel Vandoorne, who suffered an engine failure, of course, in that opening round. So here's hoping, knock on wood, that both our Jaguar cars can make it into some decent points. But a really strong showing here for Audi on Saturday with a front row lockout here. So at the place where the championship was decided and the finale was held last season, we're here for round number 2 of the 2021 season. So let's just get into this then, as we get ready to stare at those 5 red lights for the Brazilian Grand Prix, round number 2 of this season. 5 red lights are out, and we're underway into sluggish start for us, delayed one for us, as Charles Leclerc gets a good one to maybe try and go around the outside of Max Verstappen. Hülkenberg up into P4. We're going to have to do some defensive work from Sebastian Vettel, that goes down the inside of the second part of the center race. We're on the curbing there, riding it like a skateboard, and we just about managed to hang it through ahead into P5. Meanwhile, up ahead, Hülkenberg, look at that, trying to go down the inside of Charles Leclerc for third place. There's the 2 Audis are still 1-2. Verstappen in second. Carlos Sainz leads the way, and looks like Nico Hülkenberg will just about get third place there. Meanwhile, back behind us, Sebastian Vettel under pressure from his former Ferrari teammate, Antonio Giovinazzi, around the outside then as they climb up the hill. I think Vettel will just about be able to get it down the inside, but Antonio will still try and go the long way round, and we're on this very awkward onboard shot, trying to do our best to see what's happening as Vettel's still there on the inside as we move on to a bit of a better shot, and Vettel's able to squeeze him out and stay up in P6. We're still here in P5, and you can see confirmation there. Charles Leclerc down into 4th place, Hulkenberg into a great 3rd place there, and showing those Haas upgrades working well at the start of this race. The same can't be said for his teammate, obviously, from qualifying, but we'll see. But for now, this man, the reigning world champion, Carlos Sainz, the man who obviously won the championship at this very race last season, leading the way from his teammate Max Verstappen. Meanwhile, though, in the background, Antonio Giovinazzi still fighting, and he's got it down the inside of Sebastian Vettel into turn 1. The same thing there in the background you can see between Daniel Ricciardo's McLaren Honda and also Sofia Flores' Monster Rehab car, but they go side by side, Giovinazzi and Vettel through the exit, and looks like Giovinazzi's just about going to get that, and actually it'll be Van Dorn that now actually sends it down the inside and may actually make this move through. So will that be 2 places taken off him? Sebastian Vettel still trying his best, but no, I think Van Dorn does have that. Yes, he does, as they climb up the hill. A little bit of contact made there almost as they got up the hill, and Vettel's down 2 places now, down to P8, to Giovinazzi up in P6 and Van Dorn P7. So now we move on to lap 3 then. Still a 1-2 for the Audi guys, but we've got Nico Hulkenberg looking very dangerous indeed, and now he'll have DRS, of course, on this lap. It's activated, and will he be able to make a move? Verstappen goes very defensive early on the German, and will he be able to feed it around those? The DRS flap closes. He's going to go the long way around. A little bit of contacts made, and actually a lot of contacts made as Verstappen's lost a lot of momentum. Leclerc's got a hold held up, and it's a domino effect, and so we're going to close up. Meanwhile, back behind, further down the road, you've still got that battle going on between the McLaren and Monster Rehab car of Flourish and Ricciardo, but now Mick Schumacher, the man who won the last race, didn't do too well in qualifying for the Brazilian Grand Prix yesterday and Saturday, but he's going to try his best to make his way back up the order, and he's swooped around the outside of Ricciardo in a really lovely move actually. Now he'll try and hopefully dispatch his sister team there, Monster Rehab car, very easily. But now we move back to our POV, and you can see, as I was mentioning, a kind of domino effect of Verstappen and Hulkenberg battling so hard means that we've closed up to the Ferrari car. So can we try and overtake Charles? Maybe try and make a move to the outside as he goes a little bit defensive to the middle of the circuit. So we're going to go for it. It's a very late call there to go around the outside, lock up on the left tyre, and very close stuff there on the outside. But we've made it work. But Charles may have an opportunity to come back at us now as we've lost some momentum, obviously, trying to make that move around the outside. But actually, look at that. The pace difference between the Jaguar and the Ferrari engine, pretty well matched actually, with DRS also, obviously, and we're able to keep P4. And now we've actually got enough momentum that we can carry that forward as we go on towards lap 5 to maybe try and even overtake Verstappen here. So surprising after such a dominant display in qualifying from the 2 Audi guys at the moment, at least Verstappen. I mean, Carlos Sainz looking pretty comfortable, but Max Verstappen at the moment not looking like he's got amazing pace through the corners. Of course, we know Audi's greatest strength is their engine, not necessarily the aerodynamics. So here we go down the inside though with DRS. We're going to have to make a late diving move. Given the space on the outside there, we have a little bit of a shimmy and shake as we try and control the car on the exit. Verstappen goes a little bit wide and off circuit a tad, and he's just about giving us enough room, almost squeezed us onto the grass, but he's gone slowly up the hill, and that's just showing the difference of aerodynamics between the Jaguar and the Audi car, and we're able to pull it through, and we're up into 3rd place then on lap 5. So a very nice battle with Verstappen, but ultimately we are the victor. And now can we maybe try and maybe even get on the back of Hulkenberg in 2nd place. Speaking about the Haas car, the other Haas of Pascal Wehrlein we mentioned didn't do too well in Saturday, but he's trying to come back now down the inside of Daniel Ricciardo there. He's already overtaken, and so that will be the German up into P10 there. Sizable gap then to P9, which is obviously that sandwich beginning with Mick Schumacher, Sofia Flores, and then Sebastian Vettel up into P7, and so he's got plenty of clean air to go chasing after them. Meanwhile, though, you can see still fighting them, just about defending from the other Monster Rehab car of George Russell is Daniel Ricciardo. But now we're going to shift focus back to the lead of this Grand Prix. It's Carlos Sainz still leading the way from Nico Hulkenberg as they move on towards lap 7, but Hulkenberg within DRS range there. You can see his DRS flap open as they enter turn 1 then. Could he set up a move possibly, but Carlos Sainz actually locks up into turn 1, and Hulkenberg's already going to get the move done before they even enter that first DRS zone as he goes down the inside there on the swooping left-hander, opens DRS, and he's going to get it up into 1st place, and so the Haas Haas leads the Brazilian Grand Prix into the next corner. He's locked up though on the front left tire. Big lock up. He's slowed himself and Carlos Sainz down, but he's crucially still kept the lead there, and all that's done really is opened ourselves up into this fight, because look at that, in a split second, in a matter of 1 sector only on lap 7, we're now in this fight, and you can cover a blanket over us. P1 to P3, and even P4 is not too far behind there. Verstappen leading a train of his own from P4 down to what looks like almost P9, which is the tail end of that sandwich of the two monster Mercedes cars there. But we're at the moment looking at the back of Carlos Sainz's gearbox with great intent, trying our best. Obviously a lot of dirty air here in Brazil. It's very tough to make a move in the second sector, so the best thing we can do is just be patient and try and stick behind him and up his gearbox as best we can. And you can see we're literally basically just touching the gearbox as we're right up his chuff. Open the DRS. He's got DRS off Hulkenberg, but we've got the slipstream as well. He's going to pull out to the left-hand side. We're going to try around the outside again, just like we did in the Ferrari car. We've locked up on the left tyre, but Carlos Sainz made some contact with Hulkenberg, lifts off there into turn 2, and that allows us to send it to the inside, and we're now up into P2 of the Grand Prix. And now can we try and use the slipstream of Hulkenberg to try and help us keep the P2? Of course, we know the Audi's going to be good in a straight line. We've got a decent enough engine on the back of us, but we need some aid with that slipstream off Hulkenberg, and that has worked out, and we're going to keep P2. And now we can set our eyes ahead to Nico Hulkenberg and that lead of the Brazilian Grand Prix. We go up the hill, then gaining a lot of time there up the hill and actually finding the grip down the inside. It's going to be a late lunge, locking up the right tyre. Tiny bit of contact was definitely made with the sideboard there, but now on the left-hander, keeping it clean, but still there on the inside, just about getting the power down in 4th gear. Very tricky in this sector, as I mentioned, but we're making it work for now, and we may just go around the outside of the next left-hander, keep the foot in on the throttle. Really never thought to lift off there, and we've made it work. A little bit wide of the curbing, but we're up into first place of the Grand Prix, but it's not over there, I'm sure, because the slipstream is going to be very powerful down that main straight, and you can see we're going to try and do our best to break that toe on the right-hand side, but no use. We enter the main part of the pit straight on towards lap 9. It's going to be Carlos Sainz to go to the wide left, and it's going to be 3 wide into turn 1. Sainz going for the lead this Grand Prix. Hulkenberg in the middle. We're on the outside. It'll turn to the inside for the next part of the center S, and Sainz being shoved off on the curbing. We take the widest line ever through that left-hander to really avoid any kind of contact between Hulkenberg and Sainz, and Sainz is still going for it and still fighting as hard as he can to try and get this place back from Nico Hulkenberg. He's done it to the inside there. He's going to have to work a little bit hard on the exit though, as the German's going to keep his nose in there, and they'll go side by side up the hill, and I think he's just going to manage to do it. I think Nico to the inside, and yes, he will defend and he will keep P2, and it's still going to be Sainz in P3 then, and P4 Max Verstappen left frustrated looking at the back of his teammate's gearbox. Meanwhile though, whilst that was going on, we had a similar fight down the order. The two monster Mercedes cars fighting hammer and tong. Mick Schumacher trying to overtake Sebastian Vettel. Vettel trying his best to defend. Ultimately though, it's going to be the youngster that gets him, but both of them still behind the monster rehab car of Sofia Flores. So familiar tales from 2020 with the sister junior team at the moment doing a lot better. Meanwhile, onto lap 10, Sainz around the outside of Nico Hulkenberg into turn 1. Nico's going to have to try very hard to try and shove him off a little bit wide. A little bit more contacts made on the exit. Then look at Verstappen coming through, so maybe it could be a double pass for the Audi guys here. Let's see, will Verstappen make a move? I think he will. He's going to go to the inside of both of them, and will he make a double overtake? Max Verstappen for second place in this Grand Prix. No more contacts made. There's been a lot of contact on that left-hander as they go down the hill towards sector 2, and I can't quite tell. I think that's Verstappen on the outside then, but that Audi downforce doesn't kick in compared to the Haas really, and the Haas is able to keep P2 for now, and Nico is going to keep P2 as we move on to the end of that lap as we enter the pit lane there. So Nico will take the lead of the Grand Prix, but not for too long, because once again here comes an Audi. This time it's Verstappen around the outside, and again Hulkenberg's going to try and defend to the inside for that second part of the center S, and for now looks like he'll keep that. Meanwhile, we are going to make our pit stop. We're onto another set of super soft tyres that was, so going for a bit more of an aggressive strategy. We know the tyre wear is pretty damn bad around here in Brazil, and obviously with some rain coming as well, that will give us flexibility on the strategy. But whilst that was happening on lap 11, that's Verstappen actually finally up into first place, and he's actually managed to overtake that Haas. So Verstappen from Hulkenberg, then Carlos Sainz, and then I believe it's the two Ferraris close behind, Charles Leclerc and Antonio Giovinazzi. And way down the order of this is actually a fight between the monster Mercedes car of Mick Schumacher, and he's actually been overtaken by both Red Bull Chevrolets. That's Nico Kari, I think, down the inside. Pierre Gasly's already up the order, and so we've seen before in practice that Pierre Gasly mentioned the Chevrolet engine was very, very decent. Red Bull just need to get their act together and get back to their former glories of pure downforce and good chassis from that car. And so both of them overtaking Mick Schumacher, who's struggling on that set of tyres. So good to see there for those two guys. We now go down the inside of Sergio Perez's BMW Williams car, trying to make our way through the traffic basically of these guys, all who started on soft tyres obviously, but yeah, we're on to another set of super soft tyres, getting a little bit aggressive. You know, those super soft tyres only went 11 laps, so another 11 will be around lap 22, and then potentially even another set of super soft, because the rain is forecast right to the end of the race, so it may not even be worth going on to a set of soft or medium tyres. So we now try and feed it around the outside of Jack Aitken, and it doesn't quite work out for us on the exit, and up the hill I thought we would have had the legs on Jack, but you can see there on the left hand side the proximity tower is still there, and that Renault engine, I'm assuming he's probably up into Rich Mix. We are as well. He's actually got some decent legs on us, and he's actually managed to shove his way back past us, and so we have to try and make another move to the inside now, diving down the inside, and so Aitken really putting up too much of a fight for us, and it's not a fight I need, because obviously I'm fighting against the clock basically, as at this entire time I'm losing time to potentially Verstappen, Hulkenberg against Sainz, who are going to make their pit stop eventually. So the undercut at the moment not working out how I want it to, and finally though on lap 14 to the outside just before the yellow flags come out, and you can see there is Verstappen, and he's right up the gearbox of Aitken, so you can see how much time we actually lost to Verstappen in that fight with the Renault car. And now, as you can see, as we moved into lap 16, Verstappen right up our gearbox there in the mirrors and getting a little bit out of shape on the exit. That's going to hinder us, and as we go down into the first DRS zone on the lap, Verstappen, where's he going to go? We're going to the inside to try and defend from him as best we can, but we, as late as we brake, he's just sent it around the outside. We've got on the curbing somewhat. That sent us into a bit of a tank slapper on the exit, and so Verstappen is clearly round to what will be a net first position. At the moment it's only P4, but there are a few runners that's still yet to make a pit stop, and now as we try to actually feed it back around the outside of him up the hill, we've got the virtual safety car that has been called out, so that's going to nullify any kind of move we could make. And meanwhile we're looking at the replay now. This is whilst Verstappen was overtaking me. We've got down the inside Sophia Flores on Stoffel Vandoorne. So Vandoorne, we haven't seen much of him in this Grand Prix, and he's really been struggling in this race for whatever reason, and so he's going to still though maintain ahead of the Monster Rehab car. Meanwhile you've got Charles Leclerc trying to make his way back down the inside of the McLaren of Daniel Ricciardo, and also the Haas of, I think that's Pascal Wehrlein there. So both Ferrari cars making earlier pit stops in this race, so they're going for a very aggressive strategy, both of them on super soft tyres. Meanwhile you can see Wehrlein clearly on the set of medium, so a bit of a contra strategy there, going a bit more conservative than the Ferrari guys, and you can see there they're still going side by side through that entire section, and it takes an entire sector for Charles Leclerc to just get it ahead of Pascal Wehrlein. So a nice little battle between those two guys. We now move back. The virtual safety car has been called in on lap 17, and we can try and chase after Verstappen once again. We are within DRS range with Rich Mix to use, but you can see under the virtual safety car, Verstappen was able to get away somewhat, so we're going to have to kind of recompose ourselves and try and catch him back up in the next lap or two. And so we move on to the very next lap, lap 18, and we are right up back behind him and a lot closer than we were on the previous lap. And now into sector 2, can we once again use the advantage we've got in the corners against the Audi to make this work. We swing through on the left, go a little bit wide, that gives us a better tighter line to the inside for this next corner, locking up on the front right tire, but we're going to set ourselves up to make a move around the outside of the next left-hander, squirt and throttle as best we can, control the car on the exit, set ourselves up to dive down the inside of the next corner, and then we're still battling away. Great little scrap for first place in this Grand Prix. Awesome to have these battles for first place, and we're back up into the lead of this Grand Prix. Verstappen settles down for P2, but as we climb the hill, he's going to have that better run, and he's going to have the slipstream. Of course, no car ahead of me, so I'm just hitting that waft of thicker air, whereas he's got that nice toe to now try and make a move to re-overtake me for first place. As we move on towards lap 19, he's got DRS open. I do not. We squeeze him to the left, but he's locked up quite a bit on the right-hand side there, so can we use that to stay ahead for now? Yes, we can, and we just about control the car. Again, having a bit of opposite lock on the exit as we try and wrestle through as these tires start to go off. Of course, we've only got about 3 laps left until we're probably coming in. So these tyres are definitely going off, and Verstappen now sends it back down the inside. There's been some contact made there, and he's going to try and force his way through. And for now, we do stay put. And so that's 3 attempts Verstappen's made, and 3 times he's unable to make that move stick. Moving back now to focus on Pascal Wehrlein in that Haas on the medium tyres. He finds himself in a Ferrari sandwich, and Charles Leclerc already got past him. Now Giovinazzi around the outside of turn 1. It's a really awesome move there for the Italian, and he's going to have to do a little bit of work on the exit then, as he's on the outside, getting on the curbing, squeeze onto the grass somewhat, and now he's got the monster Mercedes car in the background, and also our teammate Stoffel Van Dorn, as those 4 cars very close together. Surprised no contact's been made, and actually look at that, Giovinazzi's been squeezed out so much by Wehrlein that he's actually lost the position to Sebastian Vettel, I think that is, or it might be Mick Schumacher. I think it's Sebastian Vettel, no. So yeah, he's lost the position rather than gain one on the Haas car, so that's really unfortunate for the Italian, who did really well last episode in round 1 to take home what was a bit of a struggle for Ferrari, clearly with an engine failure for Charles Leclerc. Meanwhile, on lap 21 now, we see a little bit of battling down the order between the BMW Williams car and the Renault, and I think that is Esteban Ocon up ahead of Valtteri Bottas. And now we move back to our POV then on lap 21 towards lap 22, pretty much nearly time for a pit stop, almost in a lap or 2's, but now you can see the power of the Audi coming to full force. Verstappen cleanly passes, Sainz tries to go around the outside, he's locked up on the left side, we got a little bit wide, we're going to take a tight line to get a switchback moved on him on the exit of this center S. It doesn't quite work out as I wanted it to, we don't get quite the exit I was looking for, and we get in the slipstream, but ultimately with DRS as well for Sainz, we're unable to make anything work. You can see having a little bit of a look to the inside just doesn't want to work out for us. I could have made a dive, but that would have probably caused contact, so that's probably best to be avoided. But now we've got in a little bit of a train now, led by Carlos Sainz, then myself, then you've got Hulkenberg, and then the first Ferrari of Charles Leclerc. You can see as we enter sector 2 up the hill, trying to actually feed it around, as that Audi's so poor up that right-hander, but just unable to make it work. A little bit of contact was made actually in the end on his rear left tyre, Sainz, and he's able to keep it through for P2. So it is a 1-2 for the Audi team for now. So looking good for them. Meanwhile, on a replay here, we've got Mick Schumacher still fighting hard against these 2 Red Bull Chevrolet cars. So meanwhile, while Sebastian Vettel's taking advantage of Pascal Wehrlein battling away with some Ferrari cars and overtaking Antonio Giovinazzi, his younger teammate, the one who took the win in round 1, is there at the back end, just outside the points actually, battling away with Pierre Gasly and Nico Kari. So how fortunes change for those 2 guys. And now we move to lap 23 down the inside, going for one more lap here, so we're extending this stint, and we've made some contact now with Carlos Sainz. He's getting a little bit frosty and angsty with Sainz. I'm really trying to get past him. We're getting a little bit frustrated at how much of a blockade he's being, and we're keeping it on the right hand side there. Got on the curbing and nearly got on the grass to make it work around the outside, and he's gone defensive. He's going to keep defensive. We're going to have to go the long way around and get the power down as early as we can in 4th gear. It's oh so close from our left front tyre to his side pod aerodynamics there as we go down the inside now up the hill, and you can see that Audi just kind of wilts away almost, so you can see just the lack of downforce and where the weakness is of that car. And so we're back up into 2nd place. Now later in that lap, you've got Antonio Giovinazzi coming in, the same for Mick Schumacher as well, so making some earlier pit stops than the rest of us, and he's going to come in, and we're going to continue on for one more lap still. So we're really extending this 2nd set of Supersoft tyres, and the reason is I'm going to go to a 3rd set of Supersofts. I'm going to avoid going on the softs or the mediums. Now usually that would work, because of course the dry tyre rule comes into play that you have to go into 2 different tyre compounds for the dry tyre, but there is definitely some rain forecast. I think it should be coming for sure at the end of this race, so I can afford to go on to another set of Supersoft tyres. And we've seen generally, I think the Supersoft tyres are performing a lot better than the soft tyres. In terms of the tyre wear, it's not been too bad actually compared to the soft tyres, so I'm going to go for it. It's a bit of a bold strategy, aggressive one, but I think that's going to be paying off for us. And I think if we can make this work, we could get right back up to Verstappen there. We've lost some time obviously battling Sainz, but I think this could work. So we're on to a 3rd set of Supersoft tyres, so we're not even going to touch the softs and the mediums, and so we'll come out there and we'll see where we come out, hopefully in a bit of clean air. I think you can see the Ferrari car has actually passed us, and the monster Mercedes car of Sebastian Vettel. So that's Vettel and I think Charles Leclerc back past us. You can see there he is on the right side, and Antonio Giovinazzi. So all 3 of those cars are ahead of us now. We're coming out side by side with Antonio Giovinazzi. We'll stick it to the inside. It's so close on the front right tire, but we'll get it. He'll lift off on the exit, and we're up into P12 there. But surprising, so it looks like out of nowhere, Charles Leclerc and Sebastian Vettel have managed to overtake us and do a huge undercut strategy on us. making a pit stop only a lap or two earlier than us. So the undercut working very well indeed around Brazil. And now you can see our teammate Stoffel Vandoorne just comes out behind Nico Hulkenberg, has to slot in right behind him, and so that's close stuff with him. So it looks like Vandoorne's kind of trying to come back in this race, but again, we've not seen too much of him. And now we move back to our POV, and we're chasing after Sebastian Vettel, who finds himself behind Max Verstappen, who is behind Charles Leclerc. So Charles Leclerc has somehow got into, well, you would say, because Verstappen was in a net first position, now that Charles is ahead of him, is he in a net first position? If he is, that's going to be a bonkers strategy for him to get into the lead of this Grand Prix somehow. Meanwhile, at the end of lap 27, my only concern at the moment is trying to get past Sebastian Vettel, let alone trying to see how this race unravels with about 9 laps to go. At the moment, it looks like the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc looking very handy for possibly a very surprise win at the Brazilian Grand Prix. Meanwhile, we're slipstreaming Sebastian Vettel. He's got DRS as well off Verstappen, but we've got the better straight line speed with the Jaguar engine around the outside at turn 1. It's close, nearly a bit of contact made there. We had to correct ourselves a little bit to give Sebastian the room, and that meant we have to tuck back behind him and get another bit of slipstream here. This time he doesn't have DRS, so thankfully can we try and get enough speed? Looks like he's got it. He's going to aggressively squeeze us to the inside. It's not worked out for him because he's locked up horribly, and in comes, Giovinazzi and Carlos Sainz into a rearing, widening Sebastian Vettel, and there's some contact made there. There definitely was some carbon fibre flying, and I think that's some damage there for Giovinazzi and Carlos Sainz as Vettel tries to squeeze me very hard into the apex of that previous left-hander, and probably a little bit of karma then for him. He ends up locking up badly and loses out to me and probably the Ferrari and Audi pretty damn soon. Meanwhile, lap 29, that is Stoffel Vandoorne battling away with Nico Hulkenberg, and he's past Hulkenberg there, so good to see he's coming back into some okay-ish points, I guess you could say. I think that's only around P7, so not amazing, but still something, though, as we move on to lap 30 for the lead of the Grand Prix. There you go, a lead change, and Max Verstappen has restored order to this race, and he's back into first place of the Brazilian Grand Prix. Charles Leclerc, though, still in second place, and still somehow ahead of me. I'm still baffled by how he's made that work. The Ferrari guys have done, surprisingly, quite a great strategy there compared to what they used to do in 2020. Now on lap 30, Wehrlein pits. He was actually in first place this entire time because, of course, remember, he was on medium tyres, so he went a lot longer than everyone on his second stint. Only now has he made his second pit stop of the afternoon. He comes out just ahead of Stoffel Vandoorne and behind Antonio Giovinazzi, who's still unable to get past Carlos Sainz, who's struggling somewhat now with damage after hitting the back of Sebastian Vettel. And we didn't see it this entire time, but Wehrlein was actually out in the lead, as I said, with the 2 Red Bull Chevrolet cars, and 2 of them have come in. There's still 1 Red Bull Chevrolet car leading the Grand Prix. I think it's Pierre Gasly on medium tyres. All those guys on mediums. So at the moment, in the actual on-the-road order, it's Verstappen in second, Charles Leclerc third, myself fourth, but of course, that will shift down because you would expect that Red Bull to eventually come in of Gasly. So now we move on back to our POV then on lap 31. You can see the sheen on the track is starting to come out, so the rain definitely is starting to fall, and it is going to be time for the intermediates soon enough, like I mentioned. So that's why I was confident we could go on to super soft tyres, although at the moment unable to really close up on these guys, and Verstappen still comfortably in the lead, but he now comes into the pit lane. So is this Verstappen going for an early gamble onto the intermediates? Very early indeed. This will be a gamble and a half with him and Audi. Meanwhile, there is Gasly making his pit stop, and Gasly is onto a set of super soft tyres, so Gasly's made a really late pit stop. I don't know why. I mean, surely Gasly should have just stayed even longer out and could have come in from first place and could have stayed out in first place onto the intermediate tyres. So Red Bull and Gasly have really blown that to maybe potentially lead a surprise Brazilian Grand Prix. And so now with Verstappen in as well, I'm not too sure what tyres he's on yet, but he's in. And so Charles Leclerc is up into second. I'm in third now. And now as we move on to that 31, down the road, we've got a battle between Pascal Wehrlein, who came out, remember, ahead of Stoffel Vandoorne. He's now going to try and make a move on Antonio Giovinazzi. He's going to successfully go around the outside of the Senna S, and he's up the order and he's going to chase after now Carlos Sainz. There is that Red Bull car of Pierre Gasly, I think that is. And so Antonio Giovinazzi opened the DRS, tried to come back at the Haas, and also just trying to defend, really. And there goes Gasly down the inside of Stoffel Vandoorne. So Gasly has overtaken Vandoorne. So my former teammate has overtaken my current teammate. They're still going side by side, actually. So Vandoorne's going to come back at the Frenchman as they go up the hill. Red Bull trying its best, but it's not exactly got its former glory of a chassis chassis and aerodynamics, so I think Vandoorne should be able to keep this, although Pierre's putting up a very, very good fight there. The Chevrolet power unit kicking in somewhat as they go down the hill, that squirter throttle, but ultimately I think Vandoorne should be able to get this down the inside, squeeze him out on the long left-hander to keep that position, as now we move back to looking at Pascal Wehrlein as he now goes for the move on the next lap onto lap 33 on Carlos Sainz. So Wehrlein on an absolute charge, on a late charge in this Grand Prix, was on medium tyres, bit of a contra strategy, and it's working out for him because now he's got fresh tyres, low fuel, and he's really working his way up in this Grand Prix, and he's in a fantastic P4 at the moment to say where he was earlier on in the Grand Prix. Now lap 33, it's really starting to get tricky out on the track, and I have to go off circuit and control the car, come back on track, lose some time to Leclerc and Sebastian Vettel. You can see the sheen is ever more, and now you can see some droplets of rain on the chassis of the car, and I think as we climb up the hill, it is definitely time to come in for the intermediates this next lap. So I'm going to signal to my engineer to box this lap, and we are in for the intermediate tyres. Nice and easy into the pit lane to make sure we don't speed, because you can see the double lockup as we enter the pit lane. It could have been very, very easy to speed there, but now we're going to go on to that green wall of intermediates, and I'm pretty sure at this moment in time I can safely say that I think Verstappen and Audi made an absolute blunder. I don't think they're on intermediates. If they were, then fair play. We might see them creep up somewhere here at the end of this race, but I highly doubt it. I think they made a huge mistake, and along with Gasly, came in for super soft tyres. And so as we exit the pit lane with a bit of a shimmy and shake on the exit, and we're going to try our best to just go as fast as we can. Leclerc's actually stayed out for one more lap, so we potentially have the opportunity, maybe, fingers crossed, knock on wood, every kind of luck in the book, to maybe try and jump him if he goes slow enough on those slicks on a wet track as we go down the inside of George Russell. They're struggling on those super soft tyres, and I'm counting on hopefully Leclerc to be struggling as much as George was right there on his set of dry tyres. And as we go on to the penultimate lap of the Grand Prix, going through turn 1, look on the right hand side, there is Leclerc's Ferrari. He's on intermediates finally on lap 35, but we come through the center S's on the left hand side. You'll see his car still lagging behind down the pit lane exit, and we're going to get up into first place of the Brazilian Grand Prix. Leclerc's down to second. Ferrari have done a fantastic job to get him that far up the order from what was lowly down in around P5, P6 earlier in the race, and managed to jump myself, Vettel and Verstappen somehow. But now the strategy has been too much for them, and they made a mistake there. They should have come in on the same lap as I did. And so as we move on to the last lap of the Grand Prix, a little bit of late drama to be fair though. As we climbed the hill, we went a bit deep there, locked up on the right tyre, and went a little bit skatelish, nearly off track onto the grass there. Managed to hold it through, but not going to lie, my heart sank for a second bit. We are going to pull it through, and we are going to come across the line for the win of the Brazilian Grand Prix for round number 2. Get in there, our 13th win of our career in the My Driver universe. That is absolutely awesome, and a great work by the team. Call that strategy on point there to take the win there ahead of Leclerc. And Pascal Wehrlein getting a brilliant third place there. He did fantastically from that medium tyre to the super softs, then to the intermediates, of course. And he's got a great podium there for himself and the American team. You can see after all that chaos, Max Verstappen not even in the top 13 there. Carlos Sainz only down in P6, so once again off a front row lockout, remember. Very dominant showing in qualifying from Audi. They're way down the order, and again, calamities for them in this race. And Monster Mercedes in general done pretty damn awesome for themselves, with Vettel in 4th still. Mick Schumacher, the last race's winner, in P7. So overall, still very consistent. Probably still the most consistent team so far after 2 rounds. And, you know, the other Mercedes-powered cars of the Monster Rehab guys of Sophia Flörsch and George Russell still really good in P8 and P9. And our teammate Stoffel Vandoorne only P10, so not the way he wanted to kind of kick back, start his season after a DNF in the opening round. So generally in the drivers' standings, it's looking a little bit bleak for the likes of him, Daniel Ricciardo, but a great one for us. We're in the lead of the championship for now, ahead of Mick Schumacher. You can see that fight already from P2 all the way down to around P6 is already getting quite close, P7 even, but Carlos Sainz really all very, very close indeed. And you would say we started off very consistently, but I wouldn't put it past Audi to really start trying to get that act together, because down in P7 and P8 in the standings is not where they would want to be, and I don't think any of us expected them to be, considering how quick they were coming into this season from pre-season and how they've done in qualifying so far in the first 2 rounds. But you can see in the constructors, but you can see, as I was saying, Monster Mercedes Racing are the consistent ones at the moment after 2 rounds. In first place there, Haas Chevrolet doing a great job to be in 4th, and McLaren Honda way down the order. You can clearly see they're very, very much struggling with these brand new aerodynamic regulations in 2021. But guys, if you have enjoyed that second episode of Season 7, smash that like button. Let me me know what you thought in the comments below. As always, if you are new around here, then do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content. You guys absolutely killed it on part number 1. Can we do it again for part number 2 and try and sort of match the support on that one? Let's try and see. I'm sure you guys will try your best. I'll see you guys next time. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Goodbye.